Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen, the Get Some podcast. And my guest this week is...
This motherfucker Gary.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Gary Owen with the Get Some podcast. We'll start off with my schedule. This weekend, I'm in Ontario, California at the Improv. I think 2 shows are sold out. We got 5 total, so we'll probably add 1, I think. So if you haven't got the tickets yet, get them. And if you want to go and you're like, it's sold out, we should be adding pretty soon. Saturday, January 13th, I'm in Jacksonville, Florida at the Moran Theater, not to be confused with the Moron, the Moran Theater, M-O-R-A-N. And then January 14th, I'm in Fort Lauderdale, Florida at the Hard Rock Live and Casino. And then I'm coming home January 18th to the 21st. I'm in Cincinnati, Ohio at the Funny Bone. Can't wait. We already got 2 shows sold out. I just got the numbers in. For sure, they're all going to sell out, so I'm pretty sure we'll add 2, maybe 3 shows in Cincinnati. So if you haven't got your tickets to that, we'll be adding pretty soon. Irvine, California, I'm there for the first time ever for a weekend, January 26th to the 28th. That takes us into February. February 2nd through the 4th, I'm in Tampa, Florida. And then Super Bowl weekend, January 8th through the 10th, because nobody does a show on the 11th. That's Super Bowl Sunday. I'll be in Charlotte, North Carolina, February 8th through the 10th. And then Valentine's Day, if you're not doing anything, come to Arlington, Texas to the Improv. I'll be there on Wednesday, February 14th. And then the weekend after that, I'm in Orlando, Florida. So if you want to get a nice Valentine's gift, like, oh, my God, if you're in Orlando, that'd be good. I think Tampa and Orlando, they switched it. They're no longer the Improv. They're the Funny Bones. Let me look that up real quick. I think they just switched their name. Tampa. If I go to Tampa Improv, I bet you it's the Funny Bone now. Yeah. Tampa is now the Funny Bone. It's no longer the Improv. It's the Funny Bone. And Orlando, and not that this means anything. It's just a name change. The club is the same. The venue is the same. Orlando is still the Improv, but Tampa has now switched it to the Funny Bone. I heard a couple of them. I heard Kansas City went from the Improv to the Funny Bone. So I don't know why. That's the powers that be. But they changed the name to a couple of the clubs. As long as they still got the seats, people can still get tickets, and the community is still funny, that's all that matters. We don't care if it's called Smokies. We don't care if it's called Comedy Club. As long as people will come out and the comedians are funny, that's all that matters. This past weekend, New Year's weekend, you know what I like about my New Year's Eve shows in Dallas every year? We do the 30th and 31st. So the 29th, I was in San Antonio. Thank you to everybody who came out in San Antonio. And the 30th and 31st, I do the Texas Trust Theater in Grand Prairie, which is right outside of Dallas. What I love about these shows is, one, me and my business partners, we definitely overpay for comedians. We give them more than what they normally get on the road, so we can lock them up early, and it feels good because as long as we sell enough tickets and everybody makes money, I'm not some greedy individual. I like the fact that we're able to put money in comedians' pockets, and comedians don't forget that. And you get to like catch up with this, almost like a high school reunion a little bit. Like, I got to catch up with Dion Cole. I haven't seen this brother in forever. And it was good just to talk to him backstage and, you know, talk about life, how everybody's doing, how I'm happy for his success. I mean, he's in the color purple right now. So it was cool. And then to see, like, always good to see Lunell. That's my girl. And then Donnell Rollins came through. Got to chop it up with him. J.J. Williamson, Melanie Camacho. And then Country Wayne headlined my New Year's Eve show. And I tell you, man, he's gotten a lot better. I'll put it like that. Because it's, you know, the younger comics, it's catch-22. They're getting success early, but with success, also the chances of failure can come early. The chances of bombing in front of people can come early. Where in my day, you could bomb and nobody would know about it. You could have a bad set, nobody would know about it. Now these quote-unquote younger comics, they have a bad set. It's going to be on the internet. People are going to talk about it. And so to see Country Wayne, I think this is the second or third time he's done my New Year's Eve show, because this is year 8 of it. And we've worked together in other capacities, other shows. But just to see him headline this New Year's Eve show like he did and did his thing, and he, he's just come a long way. He's come a long way. You can tell when somebody's really working at their craft. And so it was cool to see. So kudos to Country Wayne. Now, with that, with all the good feels of stand-up, the internet got ethered yesterday with the Katt Williams interview. So if you haven't seen it, you've been living under a rock. But Katt Williams went on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club Shay Shay, and nobody was safe, brother. Nobody. Here's my thing. Katt talked about Cedric The Entertainer. He talked about D.L. Hughley, and good and bad. I'm not just saying this isn't all bad. He talked about Mark Curry, Steve Harvey, Rickey Smiley. My name came up. Tiffany Haddish, Wanda Smith. Let me think. Am I forgetting? Let me see. He started off. The thing is, he comes in guns a-blazing. It's not even like a feeling out portion of the show. Katt just came in and immediately went in on Rickey. It all started with Friday. And as I'm watching it, and here's the thing about Katt. We all got opinions on comedians, and Katt doesn't hold his opinion back. I do. I'll be honest with you. There's some comedians I find funny, some I find hacky. I just don't feel the need to air it to the masses. I'll keep that to myself, because I like to be Switzerland in all this. I like to be Kevin Hart got it with. I remember when Chris Brown and Drake had the beef, right? Later on, they came together, they did a song, did a music video together. And I remember Kevin was cool with both. Kevin was cool with Chris, and he was cool with Drake. Like, really cool with both. And I was thinking, how's Kevin going to navigate this? Because some people, man, when you got beef, they're like, either you're with me or against me. And I'm more Switzerland. I tend to try to get along with everybody. You never know when work's going to come your way. Somebody might have a project. They're thinking of you. So I kind of keep, if I have anything negative, just out and out negative for no reason, unsolicited, I tend to keep it to myself. Now, if you talk shit about me, or the Monique situation years ago when she compared Will Packer to Harvey Weinstein, I spoke up on that because Will's my friend. He's put me in 3 movies, produced one of my comedy specials, and I was just like, I don't know your beef with Tyler. I don't know your beef with Oprah. That has nothing to do with me. But you spoke on my friend. You compared him to, a sexual predator, and I didn't like it. So I just spoke up. And that was kind of out of character of me. But I'm not going to say I'm never going to speak up. I'm going to stand up for myself if you're talking shit about me. But as far as like just unsolicited going in on people, that's just not me. Katt's different. You ask Katt a question, he's going to give you his answer unfiltered, unsolicited. You could get mad about it, or you'd be like, that's really how he feels. But regardless whether you agree or you disagree with what Katt is saying on Shannon Sharpe's podcast, you're watching. It's getting everybody's attention because people are commenting on it. He went in on Faison, who's my boy. I love Faison. But then Faison started making posts on Instagram that I'm laughing at. So at the same time, I'm looking at Katt going, oh! I'm looking at Faison going, oh! Now, if I see Katt, I'm still going to be cool with Katt. Katt's always been cool with me. He's done some cool things for me in my life. Faison, still going to be cool with Faison. That's my boy. And even then, I could talk to Katt about Faison and not have to go in on Faison. I could talk to Faison about Katt and not feel like I have to piggyback it and go in on Katt. I just sit and listen and laugh at it all. Because if you're a comedian and you're a true stand-up comedian, we're offense-proof. We cannot be offended by anything. We can catch strays. We can catch arrows like everybody else. And we always say, like, just be honest. Don't say something behind my back. Whether you like Katt or not, He's not going to talk behind your back. However he feels about you, that's how he feels about you. Now, he did say one thing. He talked about Rickey Smiley, and he talked about when Rickey Smiley went on Club Shay Shay, Shannon Sharp's podcast, which is a great podcast, especially for, I know I'm a white guy, but for my demographics, and I'll get into that in a minute, what Katt said about me, but for my demographics, you know, Club Shay Shay, I'd rather go on Club Shay Shay than Joe Rogan. Even though, okay, I got to get into I got to unpack this podcast because Katt made a comment where he said, why you think Gary Owen, who's a white guy, has been doing stand-up for 25 years, hasn't crossed over. And when he said it, I was like, wait a minute, was that a good thing or bad thing? And I literally had to go to Twitter and start asking people, was I catching strays or what was that? And they was like, no, they were saying you haven't sold your soul. That's why you haven't crossed over. You've been consistently you, and that's why you haven't, quote unquote, crossed over. So I was like, oh, okay, that made sense. Now, I'm not going to get into it, but I've been, I was in an awkward situation one time where I can't say for 100% this person was trying to make me do something, casting couch type deal, but it felt like it. And I was like, is this that point where I've always heard, would you suck a dick for $1 million? And I was thinking to myself, and I was in this office in this room going, well, this is I'm about to answer this question. And the answer was no, I wouldn't. So now I listen, I can't say for 100% that's where it was going, but it felt like it. It felt like it. You got to be in the room to feel it. And I was like, oh, this dude is really coming on to me. Like, this is happening in real life. And the dude did it, and he'll always remain nameless. I think he was feeling me out. Like, is this dude? And this was years ago. I was young in the game, but I was just like, wait a minute, is this happening right now? I was like, oh my God. And then I was like, I made sure I made it very clear I like women. I'm not going that route. Blah, blah, blah. So I'm not gonna get into it, but I was wondering. I was like, ooh, is this happening to me right now in real life? So I think Katt was saying I haven't sold my soul, and that's why I haven't crossed over. I think the reason I quote unquote haven't crossed over like that, there's various reasons. I've had TV deals in the past. I walked away from a pilot at Fox because I agreed to do this show with Fox. I met with all these showrunners who were writers, and I picked these two guys, and everything about this pilot was racial, and it was a lot of Jewish jokes in it too. And I go, we were basing the sitcom out of Indianapolis. I was a garbage truck driver, and the base of the show was, I was married to a black girl, and we had mixed kids, but my circle was everybody on the back of the dump truck with me, the garbage truck, and they had a Jewish guy in my crew. There was like 3-4 of us, 2 guys in the truck, 2 guys on the back, and that was like my core, my boys. But one was like a Jewish dude, and I was like, wait a minute, this is Indianapolis. I grew up in the Midwest. There's not like Jewish guys on the back of garbage trucks with yarmulkes. At least I've never seen it. I could be wrong, but not in Indianapolis and not in Cincinnati, the Midwest. And there was a lot of Jewish jokes. There was a lot of racial jokes, because I remember I was reading a script, and at one point somebody said, I just got done having sex with my wife, and in the show it'd be like me and her in the bedroom, and then we cut away and we come back, and I'm in the bathroom mirror standing there, so you're implying that we just slept together. And then I look back at her, and I was like, yeah, once you go white, you know it's right, or something like that. It was like this goofy rhyme, and I go, my wife would stab me if I said something like that. I was like, what? So anyways, I walked away from this Fox deal, and even the powers that be at Fox at the time was like, Gary, just no, say yes to this. We'll get to the pilot, and then you'll have more say on what you can and cannot say. And I said, I can't do that. I was like, if I agree to this, I was like, and this is before cancel culture was around. I said I'd be canceled. I was like, don't cancel me. And it ain't going to be the writer's fault. It ain't going to be the director's fault. It's going to be me. The lead of this show is all falling on me. So anything like that's said racially like that, that's going to be like, I don't know, like goofy. I'm not going to say the other word, but goofyish. I'm just like, I don't want to do that. So I walked away from that Fox deal. And I've had other TV deals, and 90% of them was me either dating a black girl or married to a black girl. And they never go. And I understand what Katt was saying, why I haven't crossed over, because every time I went in and pitched a show, it was an interracial show, and I was only pitching to white people, and they looked at me like they just didn't get it. And then what's crazy, when I pitched my reality show, BET's the one that bought it. And I didn't think they liked it. I didn't think Stephen Hill liked it, but he bought it, and he got it, and he liked it. And I was just like, oh. So, yeah, I could see why I haven't crossed over. It's like when you go into a room and you don't – here's the thing. I hear a lot of black comics and black people say when they pitch a show, you go into a room, you don't see anybody that looks like you. Well, when I go into these rooms and I'm pitching shows, I don't see anybody that looks like the people I hang out with. So I'm like, I am pitching myself as like I'm this – and I'm going in there and they don't know who I am. So now they're looking at me like I'm some no-name comic, which I do have a fan base. And then it just feels very – it feels like it does feel like I'm out of the clique. And I'm pitching the show to get in the clique, so to speak. And that's just part of the deal. I knew that going in. I remember one time I was leaving a pitch meeting at ABC, and I saw David Arnold, rest in peace. He was getting ready to go in, and he was waiting on Kevin. So him and Kevin went in and pitched the show right after me, because it used to be this. I don't know if it still is. There's pilot season. Pilot season is like from middle of January to like the beginning of March. And you go, and that's where you pitch all your shows to the network execs and stuff like that. And that's where you get all the auditions coming in. Oh, no. Oh, yeah, that's when you're auditioning for pilot season. The shows are getting picked up. You're pitching in the summer. So this is the summertime that I saw David and Kevin. I didn't see Kevin, but I saw David. And, yeah, you go in these rooms, and you're pitching. You're just like, woo. I remember one time I had a TV deal with Quincy Jones, and we went in pitching. And I'm like, man, how you say no to Quincy Jones? And this was like 99, 2000. And I was like, how you say no to Quincy Jones? He's just coming off the Fresh Prince. And we went in there. These execs looked at us and we was crazy. The show I was like, I would trust Quincy. Even if I was on the fence, I was like, I'm going to go with Quincy Jones' judgment on this one, because he clearly knew Fresh Prince before anybody else. He clearly saw The Color Purple before anybody else. And Quincy would tell me story after what I am so thankful for, having that 7-8 months I got to be with Quincy Jones, was just the stories that he had. You know, he wasn't BSing it. He was telling me stories how he got The Color Purple made, how he had to make phone calls to Spielberg and all these other people, how he got Will Smith and the Fresh Prince off the ground when everybody was like, no, nobody wants to see a rapper on primetime TV, and Quincy did it. So I get what Katt was saying, because at first I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean I've been doing this 25 years and I haven't crossed over? And I was like, oh, okay. He's basically saying I haven't sold my soul. I don't think I necessarily have to sell my soul. I just think when I go into rooms, if you're not in an interracial relationship, you don't get it. You know, I think when you're unfamiliar with something, it's easier to just say no, because I don't know how to do this. And then when you are familiar with things, you're like, oh yeah, I can see how this goes. So, but listen, I got a great career. I'm not complaining. I'm still selling tickets. I'm still relevant. My name still comes up in conversations. So whether you didn't like what Katt was saying or you did like what Katt was saying, if your name came up in this conversation, if your name came up during that podcast, you're relevant. Look at it like that. There's no such thing as a bad press, because everybody's picking this up. Right now, Katt has ethered the internet. He's taken it over. This interview has, and everyone that got mentioned is responding. That's the thing. And I'm just listening. I don't know Katt's relationship with these people. I don't know. I do know I can just speak on things I know. I'll put it like that. I know Katt's always been cool with me. He's done a couple. I've told the story about Austin, Texas, when he got me the limo for the night. And in fact, I'll probably tell the story on my next special because I've done it on podcasts, but I've never did it in a stand-up form. So I think my next special, not the ones I just filmed, the next one I'm going to film, I'm going to start telling that story on stage because it's such a good story. And Katt's done a lot for a lot of people. I know Lunell's told me things that Katt did for her and her career. And I'm talking giving her opportunity and financially. And there's legendary stories of Katt, somebody going on stage before Katt, and Katt just giving him some money afterwards because he was like, and he said in the podcast, he goes, if I see a comedian just destroy with good material, he goes, and people clap for him, and I know that dude's going home broke. He goes, those claps don't mean nothing to him. He goes, so I might give him something. Just say, hey, that was a good joke. That was a good set you did tonight. I know one, two, I'm not going to say their names because honestly, I don't know if Katt wants it out there, and I don't know if these comics want it out there, but I know three comics off the top of my head that Katt's done something for in stand-up that was unexpected. Just cool stories that, I don't know if they want me to share it, but I'll share it if they ask. I asked Lunell to share her story, but she didn't text me back, so I'll wait for her to text me back before I share that one. But I think as soon as the interview started, Katt went in on Rickey Smiley. And I think his thing with Rickey, and it felt personal. The ones that felt personal was Steve Harvey, Cedric, and Rickey. Those three felt like, for whatever reason, Katt thought that they wronged him. Now, just speaking from experience and knowing these guys like I have over the last 20-some years, I'm probably closest with Cedric. I'm not best friends with any of these guys at all. But Cedric's, I don't think he's ever done wrong by anybody. One of the nicest guys in the business. If you know him, he's just great. So the fact that Katt thought that Cedric wronged him, right or wrong, I don't know. But it seemed to be over a joke that Katt did on Comic View the year I hosted. Because all this timeline I'm doing it, I'm going, I'm a part of this whole story because I was there. I remember all these timelines. Like, Katt is my era. I remember before the internet, I remember in the interview they talk about a Bud Light comedy competition. I remember that competition. I was in it. I went to the Comedy Act Theater, and I went to the first round and got through the first round. And then we got to the semis. And then the semis, like, I think three of us would move on to the finals, and then there was going to be and it was two or three of us was going to the finals, and I was living in LA at the time, so I auditioned against the LA people. And I know there was one up in Northern California. There was one in Chicago, there was in Atlanta. So I think maybe two people, I think it was two, moved on to the finals, and the final was in LA at some big theater. Even back then, and this is 98, maybe 97-ish, I heard there's a guy named Cat in the Hat in the Bay. I heard it. I was like, I never seen him. They said, there's this guy named Cat in the Hat, man. He's destroying. And so I remember there's a comedian, Honest John. He was an older white dude. And I remember I went up and I did great, I will say I killed. And then Honest John went up, and he killed. And just to be honest, there might have been 10 to 12 comics on this show. Me and Honest John ripped the hardest that night. But I knew they weren't going to send two white guys to the finals. So it ended up Honest John got it over me. Honest John got to the finals. And then it ended up Katt won the competition. When the two out of LA, the two out of Oakland, the two out of Chicago, two out of Atlanta, when they all came together for the finals, Katt ended up winning it. And Katt's closer, and he did it on Comic View, he had this joke where he was in a hoopty, and he'd ride like this, and he's so little, and he had the pimp hat, and he had the one tooth, and he'd be rolling, and then he put on Biggie, and man, they used to bump, and Katt would act like he's getting out of the car, he'd pops the hood up, a car drives by, he flicks it off, and and he gets back in the car, and he's like, he just starts rolling again after somebody's pushing the car. It killed every time. And I think Cedric's joke, and I could be wrong, but Cedric's joke was on the Kings of Comedy where it was like a spaceship. You were pumping on the spaceship. So it's similar, but it's still different. And this is one of the reasons that I literally made a conscious decision to stop watching stand-up like that. And I've always said, obviously, I'm going to see a clip. There's Instagram, there's TikTok. I'm going to see clips. I'm going to be on the road. I'm going to sit on the side of the stage. I'm going to see comedians tell jokes. But for me to sit down and watch an hour special, I don't want to do that because I always want to know that my jokes are mine. And throughout my whole career, nobody could say Gary Owen is a joke thief. Gary Owen steals jokes or he samples jokes or I've heard a joke like this before. That's one thing I really, really pride myself on. And I pride myself on having respect of the other comedians. Like whether I have the strongest set or not, they know when I go out there, I'm going to be telling jokes about me and my life and things that I see and the way I see it. And so I don't know where all this came from with Cedric. Rickey, I kind of, as the interview went on, I kind of started dissecting it. And I was like, okay. Rickey went on Shannon Sharpe's podcast and talked about how he was supposed to be Money Mike. He was supposed to be the pimp, and Katt was supposed to be the Santa Claus. And even when Rickey said that, I went, what? Like, we've all heard the stories of how Katt got the part of Money Mike, how he slept in the trailer, and Katt got into it in the podcast. He told the story how he had his baby. He was holding his baby up, and his baby was playing with his chain, and the chain hit Katt's tooth and knocked him out. So he went to the dentist, and they was like, it's going to be a couple thousand. It's going to be thousands of dollars to fix your teeth. And Katt's like, I ain't got it. And then Katt said he had like a tumor or something in his somewhere. And he said, so basically, long story short, yeah, he was living in the trailer during the filming of next Friday, or Friday After Next. So that's always been a legendary story that Katt validated in that. And then we all knew, like, Cube said it, like, nobody else could play Money Mike. That was Katt's. And I think Katt said it was Terry Crews' first movie. It was a couple other people's first movie. He said, so when we were doing our scenes, let me look it up. I don't want to give the wrong names. There he is. Let me just go down real quick. I think this is why, I'll tell you why it meant so much to Katt. Friday After Next, yeah. I was going to say next Friday, but it's Friday After Next. So, Katie Albert. Her first movie, Terry Crews' first movie, and Katt's first movie. So Katt was like, yo, we get together as comedians do, and usually if you got a comedian knows what he's doing, he'll pull the other actors aside and be like, let's try it this way. So Katt was saying, like, I knew what this role could do for me. I knew how it could be life-changing, and I knew I was the only guy that could play it like that. And the fact that he said there was a scene where there was going to be a rape scene, and Katt, like, went on his own and was like, yo, I'm not we can't do that. We cannot have me getting raped in this movie. There's so many other things that are funny, and rape's not funny anyway you cut it. So they cut it out, and they listened to him, and he was saying they get together, him and Terry Crews and Katie and everybody, and we, like, whatever the scene was, they would be together to make it funnier and punch it up. And he kept saying, like, you just got to think. If Katt said he was auditioneer number 201. And whether here's the thing. Whether you think Katt's telling the truth or not, this is his truth. One thing you say about Katt, this is his truth. So, like I said, Cedric's one of the nicest people on the planet. I will never say nothing bad about Ced. That's my dude. I love Faison to death. I'm just listening to it. And I don't agree with everything, but some things I do, I can see where Katt's coming from. So when he was talking about Rickey, you got to realize this guy auditioned, basically an open cattle call audition. He gets the part, and when you get a cattle call audition and you get the part, that hits different. You're like, whoa, because you got to go through the ringer on them cattle calls, man. It's not just one audition, it's multiple. And he busts his ass to get this part. He gets the part. He does everything he can to make it his own. He knows what's riding on this. It could be career changing for him. And he gets the part, and now he's hearing Rickey say, I was supposed to have it, and I passed on it and did this, or whatever reason Rickey gave. And Katt took that personal, and you could tell it's been weighing on him. You could tell he wanted to get that off his chest. And I was like, wow. So for Katt, he's in, back at the time, Rickey, I think Rickey's gotten better with age, but there was a time Rickey had an ego, and he wasn't the easiest person to talk to or be around. We had our issues in the past. I think it's squashed now, but in the past, we had a little, when Twitter first came out, me and Rickey had a Twitter beef, but they said, Katt was like, Rickey they had Santa Claus with the mask above it. He goes, my family ain't going to know it's me. They're not going to know it's me. And you could tell Katt just has no love for Rickey Smiley at all. So he goes in on Rickey, and then Steve got it, Steve Harvey, and then Steve can be kind of standoffish. And I remember that Detroit show between Katt and Steve, and man, I think Steve was taken back. He was like, whoa, I just came to a show. And then Katt was like, this is a comedy knockout, it's a fight. And then Katt went after Steve, and it's so weird, like, to know Steve and Cedric, they're so different, but then they've done so much together. Like, Cedric is like the guy that'll walk in the room, say hi to everybody, very personable, very approachable. And Steve just isn't that guy, and I'm not bad-mouthing Steve in this. He's just not approachable. Like, you can't just walk up to Steve and be like, what's up, man? And you're not going to get that immediate love you get. Steve's going to be like, whoa, hold on. Who are you? Why are you coming up on me? He's that type. It's funny, like, in the past, like, Steve looked out for me. He tried to look out for me, and it didn't work out. And I don't think, to this day, Steve ever knows why I quit his show. Some people don't know this. When Steve Harvey had the talk show, the Steve Harvey Show, he left Chicago, and he moved it to L.A. And I remember I went on his show. First, I went on Steve's show to promote my reality show. And then afterwards, Steve goes, I want to do some stuff with you, man. I want to work with you on some stuff. And I was like, all right. And then I'll never forget, he hit my chest. Like, I'm going to show you how to make some money, boy. I was like, all right, show me. And then I flew to Atlanta. I met with Steve when he was filming Family Feud. We sat down in his trailer. We talked. He's like, we're going to work this deal out. I'm going to bring you on as my sidekick. We're moving my show from L.A. We're moving my show from Chicago to L.A. And I was like, dope. I was excited, man. And I thought it was going to be like Johnny Carson, Ed McMahon type thing. I thought that's what this was about. And I'll never forget, I went on his show again about 6 months later, and they brought me on to do some Memorial Day packing episode. It was funny. We were in a car showing what you should pack, what you shouldn't pack. And then Steve goes, they reach out to you? I said, no, I haven't heard anything. He goes, what? And then I got a call the next week, and this guy was like, yeah, Steve told us everything. And I had a bad feeling about this from jump. So I met with one of Steve's producers, and we had lunch. And I'm sitting here going, I'm all geeked. I'm telling him all my ideas about the show and everything. And he's shooting everything down. He goes, no, we'll handle that. We'll handle the sketches. We'll do this. And I'm just going, I'm not knocking your writers or anything, but you ain't going to tell me that whatever you're coming up with is funnier than what I'm coming up with. Because this is my audience. Who's ever watched the Steve Harvey and that live audience and that's who I know how to make laugh. And now if you're going to put me on Colbert, yeah, okay, I'll fall back a little bit on that, but not Steve Harvey. And I know it's going to make Steve laugh. And this guy, who's a white dude, shooting down everything. And the way he was talking to me, it was almost like they're doing me a favor. And I remember I was so taken back. And obviously I'm not gonna get a hold of Steve with all this. He's trying to put the show together. So I just fell back. I agreed to do like a 2-week run. We got like 4 months to negotiate my deal. We're not getting no negotiating done. So I come in, and I'm still thinking this is going to be like Johnny Carson and McMahon. I get there, and I got there early in the morning the first day. They got me backstage. I'm behind the stage. Nobody even sees me. And I'm announcing Steve, so I'm like the voice of God. You just hear my voice, but you don't see me. So I did the whole first week, and nobody ever saw me. I was in no sketches. They didn't include me in anything. I just basically went, give it up for Steve Harvey. I announced the guest, and then I just go back to my dressing room, and I sit. We would do like 2 episodes in a day, and I go sit. And I come back out, announce for 30 seconds, and go sit. And I go, this ain't what I thought this was. So then I told them, I said, am I going to do any sketches, anything? And then the next week, they put me in a couple sketches, and I got to come out in front of the camera a couple times. And even when I got announced, the crowd was like, oh, snap, Gary Owen. And I just remember after the second week, we said, okay, we're ready to negotiate now. I've been there 2 weeks, and keep in mind, they were filming on Mondays and Fridays. I couldn't work on the weekends. I'm giving up all my stand-up money, but I looked at the bigger picture. I wanted to be a part of the show with Steve. Steve was telling me how maybe we can, when I'm on the show, we'll do a spinoff later. And we go negotiate, like, yeah, we want to do 2 more weeks with them. I'm getting paid like SAG minimum. Minimum wage is what I got paid. And I'm going, I can't do this for another 2 weeks. I've already lost a bunch of money. I lost 2 weekends of work. Now I'm going to lose 2 more weekends. And I don't know after these 2 weeks, are you going to hire me or not? I can't take a month off, basically. And I'll just never forget, we weren't shooting 4 days. We were shooting like 3 days a week. So on one, but it was spread out. It was like Monday, Tuesday, Friday we filmed. It was like I couldn't do any stand-up on the weekends. And I just remember the second week, I did 2 weeks of the Steve Harvey Show. I did 1 day of Hip Hop Squares, the show D-Ray used to host. And I filmed 3 episodes in 1 day of Hip Hop Squares. It made 4 times the money I made doing 2 weeks of the Steve Harvey Show. And I go, well, this is backwards. I'm just a square. I'm one of 9. And I'm not even the host. And I made more money on Hip Hop Squares than I did there's only 2 people on the show every week, me and Steve. And I go, they weren't even trying to hear anything I said. And keep in mind, this is not on Steve Harvey. This was the powers that be behind the scenes. So now I said, I'm not going to do it. I'm not coming back. And then we gave them a number, and they never got back to us. And literally they thought I was going to show up Monday. I was like, I'm not coming. And I guess they thought I was coming because they got there, and I guess they scrambled that Monday. I was like, I told them not coming without a contract. And then so this is, like I said, this is not a knock on Steve. I never went to this with Steve. I don't even know Steve knew any of this happened. I was just like, I was so taken back. So here's what really took me back. My first day of filming the show, they put me in a big, beautiful dressing room. I was like, oh, okay, they're taking care of me, right? Keep in mind, Steve's on like the 3rd floor. I'm on the 1st, and this is where all the guests stay on the 1st floor. So I'm in this big, beautiful dressing room. I'm like, oh, great. They're taking care of me. They come in. Again, the white producers was like, you got to get out. They said, our first guest is Chelsea Handler. And they like, this was actually where she filmed Chelsea lately. And this was her dressing room when she was here. So I was like, oh. So I thought it was just like, when Chelsea leaves, I'll be back in the dressing room. No. They literally tried to put me in a closet. And I'm not exaggerating. It was a closet. There was no bathroom. There was no mirrors. It was a room, and there was a desk that was broken down with like a chair, and that was it. And I was like, where's the bathroom? So the guy started to walk down the hall, and he was like, yeah, you got to come to the bathroom down here. And he started to walk, and he looked back. He goes, Gary. I said, oh, I'm not using no public bathroom. I'm here every day, all day. I know how this works. You can't find me a dressing room with a bathroom? And I was like, I told him, I said, I'll never be using that bathroom. I know you're walking me down there. And I sat in the hallway, and then another white lady came over and she was like, this is his dressing room. And I was like, I'm not. Here's my thing was, I'll be damned if the guests that are coming in, and if you A-list is different, but we had YouTubers on, we had social media, just people that just did a funny sketch on social media would come on, and they were getting better dressing rooms than me. And I'm there every day, all day. And I said, mm-mm. I just stood in the hallway. I said, what do you want to do? I can leave. And then it was like, and God bless one of the, I don't know if it was a black producer, I can't remember. It was a black lady that was on staff. She goes, Gary, come here. I got you. And then she ended up putting me in a dressing room. She pulled me aside. Here comes a black woman to the rescue. She pulled me to the side and found me a dressing room, which wasn't big, but I had a couch, I had a mirror, I had a desk, and I had a bathroom. So thank you. But to this day, I still don't know if Steve knows that story, but that's why you barely saw me on the Steve Harvey Show, and that's why I was on there for 2 weeks, and all you heard was my voice. And I remember thinking, my manager was like, did you tell Steve? I go, no, I'm not going to him. He's 2 floors above me. He's got to deal with this. He just moved the show from Chicago to L.A. I'm not going to bother him like, hey, man, they ain't taking care of me. Because my thing is like, the producer should have took care of me. The studio should have took care of me. I was just like, I was a little taken back by it. So that's why you never saw me. And that's probably what and I don't know, Steve, if you ever watched the podcast, I don't know. But that's why I never came back to work on that Monday, was that reason. So, with Katt, I think going back to him, that was a long story. I'm sorry. Going back, I think he just gives his honest opinion on people. Now, okay, I'm going to fact check Katt on a couple things. One, let me see if I'm right on this one. He said he'd known Nick Cannon since he was 14. And Nick Cannon's born in 1980. That means Katt would have had to meet Nick in 94. So that was not correct. I know this is minor, but I'm just saying. I met Nick in 96, so he was 16. And that's when I met Nick. And Nick really didn't start going to L.A. till 97. Yeah, middle 97, 98. So he was 17, 18. So Katt met Nick when he was 17 or maybe 18. And Katt told the story how he had a young kid. So Nick, when he was doing stand-up, had to stay in the kitchen. And Katt was always in the kitchen with his kids. And that's how he got to know Nick. And he said, if Nick calls, I'm doing stuff for him. So he's very loyal to those people that are good to him. But, man, everybody was catching strays. Boom, 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 boom. And then when my name came up, people started hitting me. And the crazy part was I just started watching it live. I watched the whole thing live as it was happening. And even when he said my name, it was one of those moments where I was like, I think I was eating something. And I go, wait a minute. Can't just say me? What I do? Because at that point, he was just going in on people. And then my name came up. He's like, Gary Owen's been a stand-up for 25 years, but he hasn't crossed over yet. And he's white and can't cross over to white people. But I guess he was saying I haven't sold my soul. So I wasn't taking a stray. He just brought my name. It was kind of a respectful thing, I guess. But like I said, and I will say, people think Money Mike next Friday blew up Katt, and Katt said it. Now Comic View blew him up. And I think it was Comic View, and it was also they had the BET Comedy Awards. And that's when Katt did a 5-minute set that to this day was one of the strongest 5 minutes I've ever seen on film. Because I remember watching that award show, I was a little salty I wasn't invited. And then it was funny because then when they did 2 BET Comedy Awards, the first year was year Katt just destroyed it, ethered it, and he kind of blew up right after that. And it was right on the heels of Money Mike and everything else. And then I remember year 2, they were giving out awards. They were giving out like Comic of the Year. So I went to BET and did a comedy special, an hour special on BET, and then it was a great special. And then I was like, oh, I got to be up for one of the awards next year, like our special of the year. They had like, I don't know if it was called that, but it was similar. And they didn't invite me again. I go, what the heck? How did I get invited again? And I had a special on BET, and I didn't get up for special of the year on your network because they were doing like Comic View specials of the year. So that's why I remember those BET awards so well. So anyways, look, if you haven't seen it, watch. It's almost 3 hours. It's an entertaining 3 hours, whether you agree or disagree. Listen to it, because Katt's unfiltered, and Katt is a force of nature when he gets to talking, because he doesn't do it a lot. And it's similar when Katt even said, I won't go on Joe Rogan. I'll come on Club Shay Shay, because Joe Rogan don't want me on there. He don't want to hear what I got to say. And then he said, Joe Rogan has hand-selected 6 comics that aren't funny and blew them up because he just wanted that. And Katt's always like, I put funny people on my shows. I want to be around funny people. I want people that are funnier than me to open up for me, to make me work. And all that is true. Katt's always got funny people on the road with him. I will say that. And he gave Mark Curry his respect, so that was cool. I always said Mark Curry is one of the funniest ones out there to this day. On stage and off, he's just a funny dude. My point was, with the Joe Rogan thing, I was like, yeah, if you ask me, if I go on Joe Rogan, I've never been invited. If I ever went, I think it's one of those things that would help cross me over. But again, I don't get invited to shows like that because, I don't know, the quote-unquote white community and white powers that be, they don't mess with me like that for whatever reason. But honestly, for the short term, Club Shay Shay would do more for me than a lot of these bigger. If I went on Theo Vaughn, I think Joe Rogan's different because Joe Rogan's so big, he could like literally make a star out of somebody just by him validating them. Whereas like if I go on like a Theo Vaughn podcast, or I did Bobby Lee's or things like that, I get more out of going, if I went on Club Shay Shay, which I hope to be on one day, or The Breakfast Club. That's why I make it a point to try to do that show every time. And I told Charlamagne this. I go, I get more out of that than I do going on The Tonight Show, because that's my audience. And I'm just building my audience up and stuff like that. And here's the funniest part. I'm watching the Shannon Sharpe, Katt Williams interview, and Katt's going, I don't have to go on a radio show and say where I'm at. I don't have to post on social media, hey, I'm coming to your city. They just know. I was literally posting my flyer for January, as Katt said that. So I'm eating, watching the podcast, and I'm literally on my phone. I'm watching the podcast on my laptop, and I'm on my phone sending a flyer out about, hey, this is where I'm at in January. And Katt's like, I don't need to do that. I was like, oh, I do. But I don't think I'll ever stop that. I don't care how big, how many tickets I'm selling. I still pump my stuff. I feel like if they're going to open up seats, I want people to know I'm coming. So, yeah, with that. All right, y'all. I was going to talk about a lot of stuff, but then I watched the podcast. Like, oh, Katt just took over the internet. So, yeah, he gave me my respect. That's cool. But like I said, I'm cool with I'm Switzerland and all this. I'm cool with everybody. So, all right, y'all. Ontario, California, I'll see you this weekend. I'll see you guys next week. This is Gary Owen with the Get Some Podcast.